Today we're going to look at managing processes and transactions on the Phundex platform. When you log onto the platform, you will see your main platform dashboard, and in the right-hand menu bar are recent pathways that you've worked on. In this particular case, one of the most recent pathways we worked on is the October new equity raise transaction. And if we click on that, it takes us to that pathways dashboard. You can see all of the stages that are set for this particular transaction. In this particular case, there's only one task that is outstanding. It doesn't actually have a due date, and so there's no overdue tasks. You can see that it was set up for the United Kingdom. We're currently in the due diligence stage. It was set up for Start VC as the client, and Jill North was the manager who set it up. There are already a fair number of activities that have been added to it in the stages. Here we've added a post-transaction closing stage, and maybe we decide we want to create a new task for that, and that task might be a quarterly performance review. And we might be able to put some information in here and say to the post-transaction team, touch base with client each quarter to confirm KPIs are being met. And this information can be updated at any time. We have, at this point, do not have to assign it to a particular team member. We can click Next, and here we decide whether we need any other information for this task. Do we need to attach anything to it? Do we need to have a form attached from the data room? Do we need a file to be uploaded? Or do we need to create a new form? Here we may decide that we're going to create a new form, and that new form will be to collect some data. And so here it is, quarterly review. And the data field that we're going to use is brief quarterly review report. And that quarterly review report will effectively be provided in the form that you use on the platform. We're going to do text area because it gives a little bit more information to provide. We're going to make it a mandatory field, and we're going to save it. Now we don't have to worry about the notes being kept on a piece of paper, but they're actually here on the transaction. So we'll create, and that creates the task. We can then allocate that task to somebody else in the in the team. So if we go into that task and we see the quarterly performance review, we can see that when a team member is assigned the task, they can have a place to put in the comments, and they can look at the form to see what they're expected to do. And we can also see the permissions that are attached to this particular form and an audit trail of who has managed what on this particular form. We have quite a few stages here. And if you decide you don't like the order that the stages are in, you simply drag and drop to move those stages into a different order. We can also manage the team and the data room. And here you might decide when you set up the transaction that you want to add documents in the data room and make sure that they're available for the tasks. Where you've actually downloaded a pathway from the platform, our pathway templates automatically include a number of these document forms and data forms, and may also include certain template documents, which gets you started on the transaction, and then you can add any other documents that you want. Your pathway list shows you all of the different transactions that are available. Once you've got the transaction pathway set up in the way that you want, you may choose to set that as a template for yourself. So in this particular case, that October new equity raise transaction that we've just looked at, you may choose to add to your list of My Templates to make it easier to set that up again as a new transaction. Let's create a new pathway now. We have a new transaction we want to do. And so we're going to look at creating a new pathway to be able to set that transaction up. And we're going to put in there, this is going to be a new equity. So this is going to be November's new equity transaction. And we haven't got a specific client that we want to attach it to at the moment. But we do know that this is going to take place in Jersey. And so we select Jersey, and then we click Next. Here we need to understand which pathway we want to use. We can create our own from scratch, or we can use a template. Today we're going to use a template, and we click on Create. Now we have the option of selecting either a Phundex template or My Template. Phundex templates are templates for transactions and processes that we've set up for you based on industry best practice. My templates are transactions that you've set up that you want to use because you know that they're customized just the way you want them. And in this particular case, we're going to look at the October new equity raise as the template that we want to use. We select the button, we click Next, and now we're shown all of the different stages with the various tasks that are included in each of those stages. Here at any time, we can remove one of those tasks in any one of the stages, or we actually might choose to remove one of the stages completely. Once we're satisfied that we've got everything included, we then create, and that creates a new transaction for us. So where we use the template October new equity transaction, it actually comes back in the name November's new equity transaction. And maybe here today we decide that we don't want to use the transactional stage, so we're going to switch it to non-active, and we no longer need to worry about it. It stays on the list in case there were any documents attached to it that you need, and so that you can see the audit trail behind it, but you won't be required to track any of the information that happens with it. In business valuation, we don't have any tasks at the moment. Let's create a new task. The task will be review, no, I think maybe the task will be request business plan from the client. Request business plan from client and review. Provide, upload business plan to the platform and provide comments in the comment box. So in Next, we're going to ask them to include attachment, and we're going to save. When we go into that task, we can see having set up the various stages and being comfortable that we have where we want to start, we now need to assign a team so that we can actually assign tasks to somebody. When we go into the team area, we select Add a User, and this offers us the opportunity to select users from our network. When we add a new team member from the network, we have to indicate whether they have a right to see only published view documents or whether they can complete and view transactions and tasks. Here we're going to have this person view and complete tasks and add them to the team. So we can see two team members now, and we're going to add another team member, and this team member is going to be somebody who is only permitted to view published documents. That means that they can't work on documents in the task, but they could be able to view them in the view of a virtual data room. When we go to the data room, we can see the various documents that are in the data room, and we may see some particular information about them. So if we select the document, we can see the permissions, we can see that we can upload new versions, and we can request signatures. Here we've got a series of permissions, and we've got 3 people who are indicated as having access to the document. 2 are participants, meaning that they can work on the documents themselves, and 1 is only allowed publish view, meaning that she can only see the final version of the document. We can also see an audit trail to see what's happened with the document, and version control, so that if there are multiple versions, we can download all of the versions and have a complete history of the versions. Having started a new transaction, We may decide we want to create a pathway, which is a process. They're set up exactly the same way. So we're going to put a new process transaction, new process pathway. And we're going to put a jurisdiction in the United Kingdom. We're going to set new, and we're going to use a template. And in this particular case, we're going to use a Phundex template, and we're going to do a SOC audit checklist. Select new, and we're going to take all of the stages and tasks that have been offered, and we're going to add it in. Here we are able to go through a checklist to get ourselves ready to produce a SOC checklist. And you can see that there are a couple of tasks in several of the stages, and some stages don't have any particular tasks in them. You can add stages and tasks, and you want to create a team of people who can work on this particular pathway. The manager is automatically added in the pathway, but here we're going to add someone else to be able to complete tasks. And now you can see the team.